She had spent years controlling everything until one mistake controlled her. A waitress, used to making the rules, slaps a mother holding a baby without realizing that the man who owns the restaurant chain is watching. What happens next? Let's just say no one expected the ending she got. Stay tuned, because once the truth comes out, there's no turning back. Before we start, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new one. Vanessa Holt walked through the bustling restaurant with confidence, her apron neatly tied, her posture straight. She exuded control with every step she took. She had worked her way up the ranks to become the lead waitress at one of the city's top dining spots. Every night she managed the VIP tables, making sure the high-rolling customers felt like royalty. She ruled the restaurant floor like it was her kingdom. She believed in rules, order, and most of all, her own authority. But tonight, one small mistake would change everything. One moment of impatience, one act of arrogance, would take away everything she had worked for. And the worst part, she never saw it coming. The dinner rush had started smoothly, just like any other evening. Patrons arrived, eager for a fine meal, while servers scurried to make sure everything was in order. The clinking of silverware, the soft chatter of conversations, and the low hum of the kitchen were the soundtrack to a typical night at the restaurant. But then, she saw her. Olivia Carter walked in, holding a baby in her arms, with a small bag slung over her shoulder. Vanessa's eyes narrowed immediately. A baby in a fancy restaurant. This wasn't a family-friendly diner. It was an upscale dining experience. Babies didn't belong here. With a forced smile, Vanessa greeted Olivia. "Ma'am, can I help you?" "I'm fine, thank you," Olivia replied, shifting the baby in her arms. Vanessa glanced at the ticket and immediately felt a wave of annoyance. Olivia had a reservation, but a baby in her arms wasn't the kind of customer the restaurant catered to. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable in a quieter spot, away from the main dining area," Vanessa suggested, leaning in just slightly. Olivia blinked, confused. "I have a reservation for this table." The way she said it to confident, to sure irritated Vanessa. She didn't belong here. Vanessa handed the ticket back and gestured to the table. "Enjoy your meal." As Olivia moved past, some patrons glanced over. A baby in the high-end dining area was drawing attention. Vanessa kept her eyes on Olivia from across the room, the baby's occasional whimpering only adding to her growing irritation. Every time the baby made even the smallest noise, Vanessa felt her patience wore thin. First-class restaurants weren't meant for crying babies or exhausted mothers. Vanessa had seen it before, parents who couldn't control their children, disturbing the peace. But she wouldn't let it happen again. She kept her eyes on Olivia, waiting for a reason, any reason, to prove this mother didn't belong. It didn't take long. The baby gave a soft whimper, and that was enough. Vanessa marched over to the table, leaning down slightly. "Mom, could you please keep the child quiet? Other customers expect a peaceful dining experience," she said, her voice sharp but polite. Olivia's face tightened. "I'm trying, but he's just a baby." Vanessa didn't back down. "If the baby continues to disturb the dining room, I may need to ask you to leave." A murmur of surprise spread through the room. One of the other diners, noticing the tension, spoke up. "She has a reservation. Leave her alone." Vanessa was taken aback, but her authority was non-negotiable. "I'm just ensuring all guests have a pleasant experience." But Vanessa didn't know what was coming next. Olivia remained calm. But as soon as she reached for her phone, a feeling of unease washed over Vanessa. Olivia quickly typed a message, hit send, and that was it. Vanessa had no idea what was about to unfold. A few minutes later, Vanessa's phone buzzed with an urgent message from her manager. "Please report to the office immediately." Confused and growing anxious, Vanessa walked to the manager's office. When she stepped in, the atmosphere was heavy. The restaurant's owner, James Carter, was standing there, his expression calm but stern. Vanessa's stomach dropped. James, the CEO of the entire restaurant chain, was looking at her with a gaze that could freeze anyone in their tracks. Vanessa, do you know who you were speaking to tonight? Vanessa blinked. Just a mother with a baby. The manager's face hardened. That mother is Olivia Carter, my wife. The world seemed to tilt. Vanessa felt the room close in around her. She had slapped the wife of the owner. In one moment, she went from respected lead waitress to a liability. James Carter's voice cut through the tension. You humiliated her. You didn't even check who she was before trying to remove her from this restaurant. Vanessa tried to justify herself. I was just enforcing the rules. Babies can be disruptive in fine dining. James's expression remained unmoving. You didn't treat her like a customer. You assumed she didn't belong. Vanessa's hands trembled as James turned to the manager. I want her removed from duty immediately. She's finished here. Vanessa's world collapsed. The last shred of control she had was slipping away. She could feel every eye on her as she walked past the guests. Some whispered, some watched in silence. But it didn't matter. She was done. Olivia sat calmly at her table, her baby sleeping peacefully. She hadn't made a scene. She hadn't demanded anything. She had simply set a tax stand that was enough. By the time the restaurant closed for the night, Vanessa was no longer a part of it. She was erased. She was no longer allowed to work anywhere in the restaurant industry. The next morning, an email arrived from a recruitment agency. We regret to inform you that due to your termination, we are unable to proceed with any future employment opportunities. Vanessa had spent years building her career on her own terms, controlling every situation. But in the end, it wasn't her rules that mattered. It was respect. Olivia had waited quietly, allowing James Carter to handle things for her. And in that silence, Vanessa had lost everything.